What's up people, happy Easter Monday. Much like Jesus, I am also doing a bit of resurrecting. This is Star Citizen again. Now I know whenever I cover this, I run the risk of upsetting people. I'm sorry about that, but also just no, really. Like if I don't really say what I think, then what's the point of saying anything? And actually, that kind of jumps the gun a little bit, because I don't feel that anything negative is going to really come out of this video, to be honest. I've had a sneak peek at what I'm going to show you before, and I find it generally very, very impressive, as most things that come out from Cloud Imperium are impressive, or at least, you know, visually impressive, if not mechanically. So without further ado, we're going to take a look at the ship that last time out I pointed out that I'd paid considerable money for quite some time ago, and it still hadn't been produced yet. Concepts were still coming out, and stuff was constantly being added to the game that was pushing that completion date further and further back. And now we're going to see if the wait paid off. With a minor detour, we're going to take a look at the ship in front of us, which is the Freelancer DUR, or DUR, which is a exploration vessel, sort of mid-sized exploration vessel. So we'll do a bit of a switcheroo and take a look at both. Let's get into it. So this has had a bit of a rework since we last looked at it. I believe we did take a look at it briefly previously. The massive guns are still there, which I'm in total favour of, by the way. But I believe there have been some changes. I was told that this door had gone, but maybe that's only on certain variants. Anyway, we'll go in the back way. Keep things interesting, nothing like a bit of spice. Where's that? Now I do have to say, I mean, again, same disclaimer as all my videos. If things look a little bit janky, it is pre-alpha, apparently. I would dispute that, but it's also worth mentioning that I am not running a beast PC. It's reasonably new, but it is not a powerhouse machine. And I still think this looks really rather good, and the level of detail, as always, is fantastic. That's the one thing that really got me hooked with this game, was the fact that there was an attention to detail that you just don't get otherwise. And I know it can seem a little bit hypocritical for me to say that and then also say the game isn't progressing fast enough, but I don't think it's necessarily mutually exclusive. Anyway, this is the cargo bay. I'm not entirely sure what a RC1B means, but it's a nice touch. I like all the little polished pipes that are going on in here, and the lighting. There is a turret up here. There was talk originally that this would be I thought that was going to bring it down, but apparently not. There was talk that this was going to have the you could fit a tractor beam to this, sort of tractor things through the rear access ramp. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I believe you can have a regular turret there as well, which to me kind of makes sense, right? I mean, it's pretty big. It's a pretty large target. I mean, not when compared to the capital ships, sure, but you know, in a primarily fighter-based environment, let's say, you're a pretty large target, and there's no harm having a few extra guns on the thing. Right, through the door. And this is something that was added actually after the first iteration, because someone pointed out that you couldn't really use the airlock up there without venting the entire ship to space, or at least a large portion of it. So by figuring out how the balls you close the door, and that's something that still annoys me. I like, again, sounds hypocritical, I like the design choice where it was decided there wouldn't be a lot of on-screen clutter. I'm in favour of that. I think it's cool. But at the same time, like, some indication of what you're pressing would be helpful. Like, there's no button there. I can't see a button. Now maybe that's a bug that only I get. Maybe on other people's versions of the hangar, there is a button there, but I get none of the hand animations I see in other people's videos either, so maybe it's because of my settings. But the point is, when I go there and see use, I mean, that could be anything. I could be using a fucking hand dryer somewhere over here for all I know. Anyway, this is presumably the airlock control. Doesn't work right now because, you know, reasons. And you can see up there's a ladder that will extend down to floor level. That enables you to get in and out. Very, very cool. And then we come up to what amounts to a sort of semi-living quarters. This ship doesn't have a kitchen, to my knowledge, but it does have a series of science fiction-y tables that you do science fiction-y things with. Yes, yes, all very good. These are all placeholder images, by the way, so don't think this is a sort of permanent fixture. And now the interesting thing is that I can't get out of the bastard. We're back. Now we're wandering back over again, and we're going to go and take a look inside the cockpit at long last. I'm going to talk a little bit while we're wandering over, although we're almost there, about where I stand, because last time out I said that there were referral codes available that would give you and me some in-game bonuses, and that I was not going to give you my referral code. And that policy still stands. This is sort of my reverse disclaimer. You're going to hear a lot of good things in this video, I expect, once we're done looking at this ship and move on to the next one, because what we're looking at is genuinely impressive. However, it is not a game, and it's not even a significant portion of the game. And I've, you know, for want of a better term, lost faith, and it's been wavering for 18 months, 2 years possibly, that what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing just do not marry up. And I will again say that I hope I'm wrong. I'd be very happy to be wrong, but as it stands at the moment, I cannot see the game coming out. I can't conceive of it happening. And, you know, say what you will about that, but, you know, given that some of these ships have been in hangar considerable amounts of time, and as impressive as they are, there's still a bit of jank here and there. The mini PU is very janky, and, you know, we're talking about massive, massive ships. Some of them, like the Endeavour, they connect and disconnect, and that all has to be animated, and the joined and separate entities have to sort of not interfere with each other in certain ways. That's just one technical challenge on one ship, and given what's trying to be accomplished here, it just sort of strikes me as biting off more than we could chew. And I know it's been said that there is enough money to finish the game if donations stop. I'm sorry, I genuinely don't believe that. I don't think it's an outright lie. I think what would happen would be the scope will be scaled back, and stuff that would be included in the game would maybe be cut out and sold separately to fund the overall project. So maybe it's not in the most extreme sense. Maybe it's not inaccurate to say that, you know, the game would be finished. But whether it's the game that we all envisage is something else entirely. This is one of the Freelancer that we're on now is one of the ships that was originally available, and like many original backers, I mean, I backed during the very first Kickstarter campaign. The game that I pledged for and the game we're getting now are very, very different animals, and while I'll be the first to admit the new game that's being made is infinitely cooler than the one that was pitched, the one that was pitched was infinitely more achievable and wasn't, you know, I mean, we still got the same level of fidelity and the same level of intensity is probably the wrong word, but you know what I'm trying to say, surely, that you're talking about this very rich and immersive universe with ships of different sizes interacting and players, you know, exploring planets. I mean, I'm talking about a time I backed before any FPS gameplay at all was going to be in the game. I can still find the Wingman's hangars where they're talking about, well, maybe one day we'll have combat zones on planets, but we don't expect to have combat everywhere. Boarding wasn't always part of the game, and while I thought, well, adding boarding and FPS elements is probably achievable, I no longer feel that way given everything else that's been piled on top. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's take a look in here. Now, a lot of people don't like this cockpit, and I cannot for the life of me figure out why. Because you get scanners, so you know the scanners kind of compensate a little bit. I appreciate the visibility isn't amazing, but I like the aesthetic choice. I like this feeling cocooned and being inside a sort of a stronger structure. I don't see why you need fighter level visibility in what is ostensibly a van. You know, this is not a combat ship, really. There is a combat variant which you could argue maybe should have better visibility, but this variant, you know, basically it's for exploring and hauling, and you know that the giveaway really should be the controls. I do like a good yoke control. I just do. I can't help it. I know some people prefer sticks. I'm not one of them. I like a good yoke. We've got two sort of jump seats in the back here. Not entirely sure what they're going to be doing. And again, that will be sort of key to whether this ship is all that valuable in game. To be honest with you, I think it's got certain advantages, being a little bit smaller than some of the other haulers and a little bit faster and a little bit better armed. But you know, the question really comes down to what is the crew going to be doing, because you do need crew, whether it's AI or player crew, because you're going to need someone to operate the turret. I believe the big side guns operate sort of semi-automatically, although I'm quite happy to be corrected on that, as I'm sure people will leap down my throat to correct me about many other things. So if you do know, that would be awesome. I like the use of space in here. I have to say, I really do. Those beds on top of beds, that's a nice touch. I don't know what these little pulley handle things do. Presumably they're just handrails. Just handrails. Why not? The seats look very comfy, stolen out of any commercial airliner in the world today, but they do look comfortable at least. I think the attention to detail is just fabulous. And again, you don't need to tell me. I'm aware that I'm making contradictory statements, that I want this high level of fidelity, but I don't want to wait for it. I get you. I get it. But I think that the concern is more, when is enough enough? Okay, so next of all, we're going to go look at the Starfarer, which is the large tanker that I pledged for, I'm guessing about 3 years ago. I'll have to check my dates and put it in the comments if I've made a mistake. But this brings me on to another problem I have with the game, that I think it's too ambitious in a different sense. What do I mean by that? The ship you're about to see is massive. It's way bigger than it was when I pledged for it, which I'm happy about, don't get me wrong. I'm very happy about it. It turns out I got a bargain. It's so big and complicated that it's now being sold for nearly double the price, so I got a steal, and I'm prepared to admit that. If you consider 170 bucks for an internet spaceship a steal, I'm not entirely sure I do, but comparatively speaking, I'm aware that it's a bargain. Now, it's so huge and so complex, and it's got a number of roles for AI and players on there, and they're going to be wandering around inside doing various things. There are escape pods, and there are systems you can repair to keep yourself flying. All that gameplay hinges on players not being dicks, and you only have to go to the mini PU to see players are dicks. You can go to any online game, players are dicks. It's just the way the world works. It's an anonymous world free of consequence, because I know there are supposed to be sort of permadeath and consequences in this game, but they've been diluted from what I remember being originally pitched, to the point that even now I don't think, I'm not concerned. I'm genuinely not concerned. I don't think you'll be too greatly hampered by a lot of deaths. So, you know, people are going to be people and do people things. But what I'm saying is that, you know, all these systems, like being able to make it to an escape pod inside a massive ship, being able to effect repairs and all this kind of stuff, relies on you not constantly being harassed by swarms of players working together to just annoy you. I think the Constellation's a great example of this, actually. If you look at people playing the Constellation, and there are plenty of videos out there, I think you'll see kind of what I'm getting at, that these are, you know, medium large size ships that are supposed to be a little bit tougher, are supposed to give that experience you see in so many sci-fi films and TV shows of, you know, people working together to repair systems and defend the ship and stuff. But what really happens is it blows up in about 5 minutes, usually less, actually. That's not enough time to have that experience. So either you need to have these long, grindy battles where no one blows up for ages, or you need to be a bit less ambitious with the size and complexity of the ships. And the bonus of doing that, of course, is that, you know, the game comes out a lot quicker. Anyway, prepare now to hear me reverse course and completely melt over this ship, which I love. See you in a moment. Okay, so welcome to the MISC Starfarer, or MISC Starfarer. This is my main ship, and look at the fucking size of it. The scale won't really come in too much until we're inside. It's got kind of a TARDIS situation going on where it appears much bigger on the inside than it looks from where we are right now. I love the sort of cockpit nose section. I love how it's got these big bulky shoulders. For scale, on most pictures, if you look at these landing skids, which we'll go and look at a bit more closely because they're fantastic, I love a good landing skid as well, you'll see that a human is about the size of the landing skid on most graphics. I think in-game maybe we're a little bit bigger, but you can see already, like, look at the imposing scale of the fucking thing. It can be, yeah, I was right, you're about, I mean, this is looking out of my eyes, so we're about as tall as just above the landing skid. And look at the detail again. I'm just a sucker for it. I'm just a sucker for it. Now here you've got the fuel tanks. These can be switched out. These can indeed be switched out, and you can have sort of shipping containers there instead on those racks. You can also see that there's a kind of there's a large internal cargo bay. Now, something you should note is this is the standard Starfarer variant, so this is the commercial shipping variant. I actually own the Gemini, which is the military variant, and even though I this is going to sound really stupid, even though I prefer the commercial variant in terms of, you know, it's got 25% extra capacity for cargo, which is kind of key, you know, if you're doing that heavy lift operations. The reason I bought the military variant, which you can't see because, surprise surprise, it's not ready, is that it's going to be very hard to get in game, not just from a cost standpoint, but because you have to earn the trust of the people who are prepared to supply military grade equipment to you. And the military variant comes with, it suffers on cargo capacity, but it's got a bigger power plant, I believe, bigger shields, larger size of defensive turrets, and, you know, sort of reinforced, stronger bulkheads. You know, I think survivability pays for itself in the long term, so I'm happy with my choice. Let's go around and take a look at the front. It's got the same, you see it's from the same manufacturer as the ship we just looked at, and you can see that there are large guns on the side which look a lot smaller here. I don't know if that's because they genuinely are a smaller caliber of weapon, or it's just the scale of the ship making it look like that. There's an airlock down here, a docking collar even. I don't know if that's where ships have to dock to refuel. That wouldn't make a great deal of sense to me. Maybe there's somewhere else. We'll come out under the cargo bay. And I love this sort of, it reminds me of a Russian attack helicopter, this sort of hollow space between the landing stanchions where, you know, you can connect and disconnect cargo. I think that's fucking brilliant. It looks like It's very hard at this stage to figure out what everything really does in an in-game context, or see it all animated. I don't believe this is actually flight ready yet. It's just hangar ready. There's some turrets, which I think are excellently placed, by the way, because they are. I mean, look at the firing arc. They're defending the fuel tanks perfectly. I mean, that thing can fire vertically straight up at anything coming from below. I mean, the only problem is you've got that blind spot behind you for ships coming up vertically under here. So I think that's the real weakness of this ship, that it's got quite a largely exposed explosive underside. What's that? Manual access for what? I wonder if that's the refueling rig. I wonder if ships fly in. No, the space is too narrow. Ah well, we will learn in time how ships actually refuel from this thing. Let's go inside, because it is fucking brilliant, and I get it, right? I mean, this is the exact kind of ship I would want to crew with my friends. I'd want to have my friends come and join me on it, and all have something cool to do, and have that experience of, you know, like a Cold War submarine movie or any number of sci-fi films. Everyone's got a job, everyone's working together, everyone's having a great time. I'm just not convinced that's actually what's going to happen in reality. At least there's an access panel here. I love the animations. I love the animated handrails. It's such a great touch. I'm not sure, but I believe you can probably have a vehicle in here. Not that you'd really need one. This isn't really an Explorer, but certainly the size is big enough to have something driving it in and out of here. Okay, so welcome aboard my Starfarer, and welcome to the cargo bay. This is just the cargo bay, and you will see any number of doors up there, doors to the side. There's a maintenance tube access there, and that's something as well that if you will remember from Star Trek and stuff, this ship has Jeffries tubes for performing maintenance functions, which is just brilliant. But again, it impairs you, right? When you're under attack, getting players from the cockpit or the turret, the attention to detail just makes me want to spray the walls with jizz. It's incredible. You know, you're being blown to buggery, and someone's got to get 3 miles down the access corridor. Anyway, I digress. Got some jump seats here. Not entirely sure what they're really going to be used for, since there's a lot to be doing. We'll go through this side door, and we'll go up to B deck. Okay, so we're now above the entryway. The glass is kind of trans-dimensional glass. I'm not entirely sure what that does. Not entirely sure what that does at all. Maybe these are actually turret access points, because there's 2 turrets between this refueling or this fuel management rig. There's an elevator. There's 2 elevators. This is crazy shit, man. So you see here, there's computers here for monitoring the tanks. So presumably there's going to be ongoing work here, that you've got to come and, you know, check the pressures, or make adjustments during the harvesting process. I would like to see a very complicated system, and I think they've shown they are capable of putting together a very complicated system, because if you look at the system for call a lift. Nice. If you look at the system they've put together for repairing ships, which I think is fantastic, and there's a different quality level of repairs based on how well you perform the task, I think that's just fucking brilliant. So I'm sure there'll be an equally impressive system for refuel control. Okay, I've got spun around. This, I guess these lead to the turrets. What is that? That's the tank readout. But there's 3 access points pointing towards the rear of the ship. I can hear lots of things opening and moving, which makes me uncomfortable. Okay, well anyway, this is a giant Simon Says machine. I'm presuming that's a core of some kind. Seems a strange place to put it, actually, but I'm guessing that's something to do with power generation. And there are 2 control panels for that, so I'm guessing some maintenance has to be done there as well. So I'm guessing this is the engineering deck, really. We'll go through here. And by the way, I get lost in my own ship all the time, so we're going to be retreading ground. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm guessing this is the harvesting apparatus. Given this is clearly the engineering deck, you can see insulated pipes coming in and out. I don't know if this is something that deploys. It's on a rack that seems to be capable of moving. Something moves here. I think that's pretty obvious. So I don't know if this is something that's actually used in the refueling process. Probably. We have 2 escape pods on what I believe is the port side, but again, I'm spun around. Let's go back down here. Jesus Christ, I am lost. That's the maintenance hatchway. Right, but we'll keep going on. Here's another maintenance hatchway that you have to. This is the Jeffries tubes, by the way. You have to crawl to get through these, which I really do like. Let's go back to where we were. So yeah, escape pods here. Moving forward. Got another corridor. Oh, actually we're going backwards. So this leads to the turret. Yes, it does. Okay, so this is your turret access point. I'm such an idiot. I like that you can sort of, you know, wave to your buddies in the other nacelle. That's very, very cool. Okay, so presumably that's just a jump seat and storage space. So back to the core, and then this enters the other nacelle. Okay, and now I'm starting to have a bit of better understanding. So more escape pods that you can climb into, and they blow off the side of the nacelles, I presume, or the nacelle joining points. We've got another maintenance and another turret. Yeah, sweet. It's all starting to make a bit of sense now. That's something else as well that we shouldn't underestimate, that they are capable of making ships that set of switches down there. They presumably do something. That, you know, the layout of the ship is logical. If this was a spaceship for realsies, then the layout would make a lot of sense. Okay, so let's take a look at one of the maintenance hatchways again. Oh no, on this side they seem to just be narrow storage spaces for some reason. So let's try the other side. I'm starting to get used to it. Let's try you. There we go. This one's a proper one. Come on. Won't go prone. Alright, I give in. Where are you? On foot. Crouch. Prone is Z. Okay. Okay, I can live with that. For me it's Y, because I'm on a German keyboard. So I have a Quartz keyboard. Okay, and you see, again, readouts, panels, all kinds of things that you can open up and repair. That hatch opens as well eventually, I believe. Let's go up this ladder. Finally getting some hand animations, which is sweet. I have no fucking idea where we are now. But again, you know, fuse boxes and stuff to tinker around with. That looks like a display that opens up. And then we're back. This is the top deck. Presumably. I'm so lost, guys. I'm completely lost. Okay. Let's just not get spun around too much. Too many of these walkthroughs, I've watched a few of these walkthrough videos of this ship, and I find that because people are in a rush to get them out, like I've been, so I'm not excusing myself from this, people don't learn the way around themselves, and as a viewer you get very, very confused about where we are. Okay, so this is where the nacelles join. So this is lift access. That's another maintenance hatchway. More lift access. Oh, I was supposed to stand on that, I see. Right, okay. Okay. So I guess we've looked through everything here. Because, yeah, down here should be the core. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you guys are with me. And we all know where we are. Now you see what I mean? Like, you've got a lot of ground to cover here. And even running, it's not particularly speedy. So we'll go up to... Well, that says deck 3, so I'm guessing this is deck 2. Okay, welcome to deck 2. What is on deck 2? Glad you asked. Get a load of this. Fucking kitchen, man. Got a hob, an extractor fan, fucking space microwave. I'm guessing that's a garbage disposal. I'm guessing there's a sink in here somewhere. And then you've got seating. I mean, this is purely roleplay stuff, but I think this is a game that lends itself very well to roleplay, and it ties into what I was saying earlier, that you have to be allowed to experience it. I mean, I love that window at the top as well. You know, I like the idea of everyone, you know, sitting around and socialising while, you know, the ship heads off to gather another load of fuel, and, you know, living that sort of crew experience. What's off to the side here? Ah, this is the captain's ready room, I presume. So you would sit here in your big imposing chair with your big imposing pot plants everywhere. That's your bed. I don't know what that looks into, but something. And then you've got your sink and your bathroom, and I'm guessing a shower somewhere. Maybe this unfolds at some point. I mean, you've got to remember, anything that looks kind of like this will, in the final version, unfold and do stuff. I mean, basically everything is interactive. So all the switches and panels will at some point do something. Okay, so that's kind of like, call it the mess hall. Then to the left side we have crew quarters. And lockers for crew, numbered lockers. So I'm guessing anyone who signs up to work on your ship, whether they're AI or players, will get a storage rack like this. And we've already seen the intention to have a system whereby you can put stuff in and out of cupboards and so on and so forth, so that's good. And then you've got male and female shower and changing facilities. Very cool, with branded benches outside. I'm guessing the ship's going to be quite expensive in game, to be honest with you. This is the elevator. Oh no. Oh no. No. Don't get confused now. Okay, we'll go through this door. There's an elevator. And there's another access point. Okay. Okay, so this is the crew deck. Let's go down here. Okay, so all that's maintenance and cargo. Oh, I didn't notice this. Living quarters. So we've got signs on the floor at least. So, oh, cargo is this way. So this should take us back down to the cargo hold. Which it does. So there's the entryway down there. And these are all the doors we were looking at before. This is an airlock. Back to the refueling rig. Okay, so let's try and find the bridge. I think that's the last thing to look at. And if you're not if you're not in love with this ship in the way that I am, you have no soul. You have no soul. What a great machine. Ah, here we go. So here are a number of 6 more escape pods. And then this must be the bridge. It sure is. Now look at this. This is nicely atmospheric. I like the lighting effects. I like that wraparound canopy again. You've got the captain's seat here for doing captainy things. And a nice yoke control. Sucker for the yoke control. Let's get in the chair. It's a good place to end the video. Yeah, I mean, I think that the problem is the hard thing will be sort of bearing in mind the size of the rest of the ship, because you're going to sort of maneuver through this, you know, trapped inside a postbox viewpoint, which is cool. I mean, I'm one of those monsters who believe third-person view should be banned for this game. I think there's enough games that let you mess around in third person. I think there is room in the world for one true hardcore, you know, roleplay simulator, and this was what I hoped the game would be, but it seems to be aiming for a much more casual crowd than when first pitched. I mean, I remember in the first pitch they said, well, it's joystick or nothing. It's a game for gamers who have invested in a rig and the equipment. But, you know, I understand why that might need to change, but I still sort of think a forced first-person view would add a lot to the experience. But hey, that's just me. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've enjoyed my ranting. Again, you know, kind of a mixed bag on this video. You see the window flickering in and out of existence. I love everything they've made. It's janky as balls in some cases, and this window is a good example. But I love the intent behind it, and I love the attention to detail, and I love how immersive it is. But I hate that they've just set themselves up to have to produce so much stuff, and so little of it is working after so long. I'm sorry if it upsets anybody, truly, but I cannot, at this point, see this game coming out in the configuration that we all thought it would be. Squadron 42 is due out later this year. I don't buy it. I don't mean I'm not buying the game. I mean, it's not. Let's not lie to ourselves. Squadron 42 is not coming out this year. It will be 2017 sometime, I guess, and that's assuming they put their foot down and stop messing around with concept ships and grab your hand systems that they never actually intend to implement because it's too complicated. I mean, I think they've done a lot for PC gaming in general. I think they've prototyped a lot of ideas that, you know, they're unfeasible, and I feel somewhat like I've donated to a gaming research and development project, which I'm not necessarily against. I don't understand these people who say, well, even if the game doesn't come out, I've got my money's worth. I disagree in most respects. I desperately disagree. But I do agree that, you know, as a research and development exercise, maybe if the technology is shared and not used for commercial gain, which we all know how the winds are blowing on that, I could kind of justify the investment if this was a great R&D exercise, but it just doesn't seem to be going that way at the moment, unfortunately. Anyway, hope you've had a great Easter. Hope Easter Monday's treating you well, and don't dread tomorrow. It's only a 4-day week. Have a good one.